My name is Shauna Kai. I am a Holy Fire Yusui Reiki Master and Teacher. I am clairvoyant. I am a psychic card reader, and I also identify as an empath. These are all ways I work with energy, but who I am is a spiritual being having a human experience. It's a really incredible time to be alive, and that we chose to come during this time with the great harvest and the great awakening that's happening right now. One thing I really wanted to focus on today was spirituality and the ego. I'll share a little bit of information with you about me. In March of 2018, I had a spontaneous Kundalini awakening. I actually had no idea what this was at the time. It was so powerful to me. I actually had visited a shaman who had cut my energy cords in my solar plexus and throat chakra. And that evening, I dreamt of snake eyes. And then in the morning, I heard an audible pop out of my crown chakra. And I was filled with the most immense bliss. And simultaneously, I was also told that I was being filled with the Holy Spirit. I was a born-again Christian for many, many years of my life. And so that made a lot of sense to me when that was happening to me, that I was being told this was the Holy Spirit, and she was female, is what I was told. So after this happened, I experienced a huge loss of things that used to matter to me. Materialism, what people thought of me. My values really changed, and I was just filled with this love that was so incredible. Well, immediately following that, I went into Dark Night of the Soul, which was incredibly confusing after experiencing this high. And for the past 2 years, until recently, I realized that that has been this spiritual high for me that I've wanted to attain again. What I really want to focus on today is about that and how our ego gets in the way of that. I feel along the way with spirituality, there's so much information. Our mind is made to think. It's a machine that's made to think. And there's so much information, and we consume it, and we consume it, and we consume it. And I think along the way, we think that if we consume enough information, we're going to become these enlightened beings. But the truth is that in my second Dark Night of the Soul, I feel like what happened was my heart was affected. And truly, moving from third dimension, being in the solar plexus, to fourth dimension in the heart, I experienced the oneness. I understood what that meant for the first time in my life. Many times on our spiritual journey, our egos become spiritualist journey, spiritual ego. And we have attained all this information and this knowledge, and we think by this we're becoming enlightened, but it really has nothing to do with that. It truly is stepping into who we are every single day to say, I am. Because when we meditate, we're really taking the time to observe our thoughts and observe our feelings. Our ego wants us to identify with the thoughts. Oh, I think this, therefore, that's the way it is. Well, not really. That's just the way our minds are meant to think. Many times we need to feel the feelings and the heart that is within us. And that's a lot about Dark Night of the Soul, is going through a lot of getting rid of these things. But I feel along your spiritual awakening that you do go through different parts, and it is simply becoming and walking into the fact that we are Christ consciousness. I am. It's done. And as we move from third dimension, which is all about separateness, we move into fourth dimension, which is about oneness. And that gives us the ability to, whoever we're around, that person is one with us. Many times when we're triggered, it's all about unhealed aspects of ourselves. And so if we can ask ourselves, what am I learning in this lesson? Instead of judging that person, that's really the solution. And it truly is simple, because if I want to go back to my bliss of Kundalini, it's about stepping into my oneness with Creator. It's not something I'm going to read. It's not something I'm going to watch. All of those things support our walk. But it's truly our recognition that we are one with the Creator, that it gives us the ability to have this bliss and this state of oneness. We have spent much of our life in third dimension, learning every which way we are separate, and our ego has very much to do with that. And as we're spiritually awakening, it is about learning about the oneness that we are walking into. We're one with other people, we're one with the earth, and we are one with Creator. I've spent 2 years of my life really struggling since my Kundalini and my spiritual awakening. I walked away from hairdressing. I retired. I did that for 26 years and owned a salon, and I was an unpaid therapist, because that's what we are as hairdressers as well. But I really understood from a hairdresser a lot of psychological understanding, and that's really understanding our mind. But from a spiritual aspect, it's really about not identifying with the mind anymore, because that's what ego is. It makes us suffer when we identify with the separation and we identify with the feelings. And we do have to feel really hard feelings, but we can feel those feelings and not identify with the story anymore. And it's just like as we have parallel realities all the time, our lives change and they shift. And if we're able to stay in that oneness, we're able to move into the parallel reality that we're really wanting. It gives us opportunity to see what we should be doing and what our greatest joy is, because that is us truly living. When you are experiencing passion, it is the greatest energetic vibration that there is. And at any given time, Bashar talks about this. Daryl Anka is a channeler for a being called Bashar. And Bashar talks about doing your greatest passion at any given moment and releasing the expectation. Whether it's art, I do art all the time, or whether it's, doing this. It's something that we're doing that we hold passion for, and that elevates us. But I just want to encourage you on the spiritual journey and finding yourself. It's walking into yourself. It's not information. And I know along the way, I have found, this peace within information. And it isn't necessarily the information that was giving me the peace. It was that I was having that connection at that moment. And so that's what's so important. because our ego wants us to suffer. It's what it feeds on. It's what makes us stay addicted. It's what makes us be separate. That is what is happening in ego. And so as we release and we understand that we are just one, that is how we evolve. This is how we are moving into the fourth dimension. I hope this helps so much. Please like and subscribe and share this video if you enjoyed it so that others can hear the truth. The truth will set us free. Namaste.